Alright, so this video is going to start off where the last one ended. So what we did last time was bring our flipbook into Animate. We set up our properties over here in the docks, and we set our width to 1080, our frames per second to 12, and we kept our first frame right where it is, and we shifted everything else about 2 seconds back on the timeline. What we did then was we exported as an animated GIF, which is fine. We did here and we did to there, right? That's how we ended the last one. If you need to redo that to get to the same point again, we can do that. Here's what I'm going to do. I've got this still open now, and I'm going to, and it plays through. And again, remember, it's going to take a little bit of time the first time to play through, and then it should end like that. Okay, so what I want to do is save this. This is going to be a big production here because we're going to reanimate our flipbook. And so I'm going to go to File. Once you have your flipbook, everything set up the way it is right now, go to File, go to Save As, and I chose a place in my Animation 1 folder. I have a folder called History, and we did flipbook. I have animated short here, and this is actually an okay place to put it. In an animation folder in your student drive, what I would do is choose a folder for like Animate. Make a folder called Animate. And I'm going to create a folder called Animated Short. And this is where that's going to go. And what I want to do here is title this according to your name and the title of your flipbook. So you should have a title for it. So mine is Fulton-McSniffles. And this is going to be saved always in my student drive, my animation folder, in a folder called Animated Short. We're going to have lots of files throughout the year, so it's good and important to make sure that you are organized in your student drive. So let's get started here, and let's look at hitting save. And every so often, 10 minutes or so, you're going to see a little box that pops up and says, it is auto-saving, which is a good thing because you want it to auto-save for you just in case something happens and you lose your progress. You don't want to have to start all the way over from the beginning. So let's get started here. Now I've got it saved into a nice folder. I've got it titled correctly here. What we're going to end up doing is taking it into Animate and reanimating it. And so we're going to use the tools that Animate has to create our first animated short based on your flipbook. We're reanimating it. So it's a good time, you can refine some things in your animation. You can redesign some things. You can, you can kind of rework it a little bit within this program. But it should all still be based on your original content. So here's my first layer here. I'm going to double click on this layer 1, and I'm going to call this flipbook. And that way I know exactly what layer this is. And it's going to be very important to keep your timeline organized. Your timeline is based off of your frames per second and the content that you're creating down here. And it works a lot like Photoshop in that you can have several layers full of information and grouped together. Like I have line art, I have color layer, I have a background group, and also have my title as well. So we'll kind of break it down into those different parts. Before we get to that though, what I want to do is think about how my animation plays. So if I play it, it's going to go through, and again, the first couple times it might be kind of slow if you're just now playing it through, so you might give it a second time, and then the second time should play at a correct speed, 12 frames per second. I like the way this is, but I want it to kind of pause on the end here. I think that's a good thing to practice, is having your animation not just immediately stopping and going to black, but maybe pausing at the very end, at least for like a second. Kind of like how we had it pause for about 2 seconds at the beginning. So at the end of my timeline, it ends right here on frame 57. And so I'm going to extend it out to the 6-second mark. And what I want to do is I want to add frames here. And so I'm going to go to this button. I'm going to hold click, and where it says frame, not keyframe, not blank frame, but just frame, I'm going to make sure that is selected. I'm going to click that, and it extends it out so it kind of pauses at the very end there. So there we go. Now that's perfect. Now this area right here is called my stage, and it's based on my previous project, which was the flipbook GIF. But what I want to do for this, since everything is going to be animated from edge to edge, and only things that show up on your animation are what's within the stage. So whatever shows up outside of the stage doesn't really matter. It's just like if you were at an actual play or something, what's happening off the stage, you don't see, the viewer doesn't see. And so what I want to do is go back to this, and I want to resize my stage to more accurately fit my project here. So what I want to do is hit this button right here. It's called Edit Multiple Frames, and it brings up this little slider. You might have to stretch this out to make sure it stretches over your entire timeline here. And what I want to do is edit everything within that timeline. I want to hit this free transform tool, and I want to select this, and I'm holding shift and I'm selecting like to the very end. Oops, now I have to readjust this guy right here, so be careful of that. Now I have these controls on the edge of all these frames. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to drag this outwards so that the edges of my flipbook kind of match the edges, maybe even a little bit bigger than the edges of my stage. So once I have that, I'm going to nudge it with my arrow keys on my keyboard to kind of center it a little bit better. So there I go. If I stretch it out too much, it's going to take away too much of this side. So what I'm going to do is readjust the top and the bottom of my content in just a minute. So once I have that all done, I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard, and it resized everything. So now it plays the width is set to the right size. Now I have to adjust the height. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to go up here to Properties, Dock, and I'm going to change the height here. And I want to make sure my height, I want to change it to about 640 on mine. So now I see I have a little bit of room on the top, a little bit of room on the bottom, but it also rescaled everything here, which I don't want. So I'm going to undo that, Control Z. I'm going to go back to Dock. I'm going to turn off Scale Content. I'm going to unlock this right here, and I'm going to change the height to 640. Notice that the box got smaller on the bottom side, but not the top side. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I still have my Edit Multiple Frames selected. I'm going to hold Shift while I have this one selected. I'm going to select my last frame. And this time I'm going to just use my arrow keys, and I'm going to nudge all my frames upwards so that it all kind of fits. Oh, it's auto-saving, which is good. We want that to happen. Just kind of sometimes interrupts you a little bit, but it's worth the wait. And we should be finishing any second now. I haven't done that much work. Okay, so now it's all resized. It's a little bit clipping off part of my animation here, but it's not going to be the end of the world. I don't mind that. Now I'm going to uncheck this Edit Multiple Frames. Now if I go to Fit in Window, it fits my stage now within my window, and if I play it through, my flipbook should be pretty well centered on my stage. So that is exactly where I want that to be, and that's where we're going to stop with this first part here.